So on the Lewis Nichols show today, I'm really excited to bring on my next guest. So we're live from your home. So let's say hello to Mr. Len Goodman. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, Lewis. Yeah, all good. I thought I would never cope with, sitting around indoors and pottering in the garden. But to be honest, I've enjoyed myself, really. The people I feel sorry for are of course, the people that have got two kids or a
Yeah.
dog and they live in a flat and got no outside space. But for me, really, I've got a garden and I've got my family. And so, yeah, things are good.
And you were just saying there, you're redoing the same stuff in the garden that you've
Yeah, I keep
already
going.
done.
I can't think of anything else to do. I've got a fence that needed sealing up. I've done it 3 times, so I think it's sealed now. It's sealed now forever. Yeah.
So today, I kind of wanted to go on a little bit of a journey with you, which is where your love and your passion for dance actually come from.
Well, I'm a fraud, if you want the truth, because I didn't start dancing until I was 20, ballroom dancing, that is, until I was 21. I used to go, in those days, it was in the 60s, you used to go to jives and that. And I was always a good jiver. I could do that, which was great. Oh, hold on, I've got to turn my phone off. I've cancelled that. I'm so sorry. Oh,
No
shut
problem.
up. Wait a minute. Decline. I've turned it off. I forgot I had it in my back pocket. Anyway, I used to go jiving and stuff. And then when I was 21, I was in a pub with one of my mates and I said, do you want to go to the pictures tomorrow? And he said, no, I go ballroom dancing. I said, you don't? He said, yeah. I said, ballroom dancing? I said, no. He said, Len, there's about 4 boys and about 30 girls. I said, you know what, I'm going to come with. And I went. And I went up there mainly because he said there were girls there and I was 21 and that's what you do. And I really enjoyed it. And I wasn't overly clumsy. I could do it a bit. And so that's how I got started. And then there was a girl who worked behind the tea bar in this ballroom place. And I kept asking her to come out and dance with me and she wouldn't, but eventually she did. And she was the daughter of the man who owned the dance school. And he saw us dancing and he said, you look really good together. I'll give you some private tuition. And I won't charge you because, it's my daughter. So that's how it started. And I started dancing and I started having some lessons and then we went in for little competitions and gradually, you do the novice competitions and then you gradually improve and you go into the next sort of grade and standard. And that's how I got going. That's how it's all about girls. It was nothing. I'd love to say, well, I was naturally talented and, I did ballet since I was 4, but no, I can't. Yeah, it was doing a bit of rock and roll and then looking out for girls. That's the bottom line of it. And of course, then we turned professional and started teaching. And then when you start to do that, you judge a little bit. You judge little local competitions, and then gradually you get better at that, and you improve. And so I've judged everything from absolute novice beginners and I've judged the World Ballroom Championship. So I've judged all sorts of things, and that's how it all came along. And we opened our own dance school in Dartford, and listen, as I've got older, I realised it's all a bit of luck, really. Everything,
Yeah.
If I hadn't had a beer with my mate in that pub, I would never have gone ballroom dancing, and so I'd have been probably, God knows, well, by now I'd have been retired. But I used to work. I was an apprentice when I left school in 1959 when I was 15, and in those days, your parents used to think you had to have a trade. You've got to have a trade. And so my dad worked in a factory. He was a foreman, and he got me a job. And I wasn't really cut out for it. But anyway, I ended up welding. I was a welder, and I worked for Harland and Wolff not in Belfast, in North Woolwich. So I was a welder and that's what I was doing when I was 21, and that's what. So I'd have probably ended up being a welder for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'm so glad I found a bit of dancing going on. Yeah.
Going back to your dancing days, for you, in regards to winning championships, what stands out to you as your kind of the one you remember and have fond memories of?
If you win any of the competition, you know, the British Championships are held in Blackpool. You know, that's like the mecca of the dance world. Just like tennis is Wimbledon, football is Wembley.
Yeah.
So it is ballroom dancing, and dancing is at Blackpool. And if you win any competition there, then you feel as though you've made it. And I did win one of the British Championships back in 73, I think, 72, 73. And I think that's my sort of, after that, I retired from competitions because I thought, well, you know, I can only go downwards now. So I packed it in and just concentrated on teaching and demonstrating and stuff. Yeah. So that's how it was.
And then obviously to a lot of us, you know, we know you from Strictly Come Dancing. So why don't you go back to, you know, how did that actually come about? You know, did they contact you?
Yeah, what happened was when they were toying with the idea, the BBC of running this sort of pro celebrity dancing event, you know, all of our little world of ballroom dancing had heard about this, and we're all interested in either being a dancer on it or a judge or some, you know, some part of it. And I think I got overlooked because I hadn't, lots of my friends had been for interviews and stuff, but not me. You know, and there's a magazine or a paper called Dance News, which all the dance world advertises in, and there's this part called Available, which is lists and lists of dancers and dance teachers. And the producer was a lady called Izzy. She said to Erin Bogue, "I'm still not got the one judge I want that comes from the world of ballroom dancing." So Erin said, "Well, let's look in Dance News," and so they went down. "Oh, he's all," and "I've seen him," and this one, "No, I've seen her." Anyway, it got down to me, and she said, "Oh, Len Goodman's a bit of a character. Have you? No, I've never heard of him." So I got a call. It was about 10 days before the pilot of the first, you know, the practice run of the show, to go up to the BBC. So up I went, and I was in a little room. It was a really tiny room, and there was the lady Izzy in a chair and me, and then there was a television, and behind the television was a cameraman who filmed the whole event that we did sitting there. And she put on it was not a DVD then, it was a video. And she stuck in a video and said, "Well, look at this couple doing the rumba or whatever it was. What do you think?" And then I just spoke how I speak, you know, and "Oh no," I said, "No, it's all sizzle, no sausage." Or, you know, then there was the walls and, "No, look, too much rise and fall. He's up and down like a bride's nightie," and so on, and all those old, you know, things that I used to say. Anyway, I finished 2 hours I was with her, and then off I went, and I phoned my wife. I said, "Well, I've done it, but," I said, "they won't have me." I said, "I don't think I'm the right person for them, really." Anyway, blow me tight. A couple of days later, I got a call and said, "Yeah, we'd like you to be one of the judges." So there you are. So yeah, we had to go and do a pilot, like a practice round of it. And Bruce was there and the judges. And it was bizarre because they had no couples. The couples were still practicing. So we never actually saw any couples dancing. All they got was like stage people, from the stage hands and camera people that weren't, and they just minced around, and then you had to say something about it. So anyway, it was all bizarre, and that pilot, and that's why I'll always remember it, was on my 60th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was 25th of April, 2004, and so that's what. Because I'm terrible on dates, but if anyone says when did Strictly start, I can always tell them 2004, and so I did that, and then we got into the show. Yeah. We were given a little, dressing room at the BBC, and I've never been nervous about anything really, because you can only be, just do what you do. Anyway, there was a knock on my door, and I opened it, and it was Bruce, one of my heroes. Yeah, like all of us, I'd grown up with Bruce Forsyth, from still being at school, Sunday night at the London Palladium, and on, all the quizzes and stuff. And there is Bruce. So he said, I just thought I'd pop round and say hello. And how are you feeling? I said, well, I'm all right. I said, well, I hope I don't come over wooden or, not, he said, and it was a wonderful bit of advice, which I've used in the past for lots of reasons. He said, look, be yourself and be honest. And that was his words of advice. And that's what I've carried on with all the time I was on Strictly. Be yourself and be honest. And I've tried to do that throughout my life now. Yeah. So a really good bit of advice, and such a nice man he was. And I played a bit of golf with him. He had a lovely house in Wentworth, right on the Wentworth estate and the Wentworth golf course. And after we'd been doing the show for about 4 weeks or so, he said, you're a golfer? I said, yeah. He said, would you like to come and play at my club? So, oh yeah. So anyway, I drove up to his house, and there's these lovely iron gates, and you press a button and they open, and in you go. And then he had his golf buggy. Put your clubs on the buggy, went the golf clubs. And then we drove down, and then another set of gates opened, and you were straight on to Wentworth Golf Course.
Oh, wow.
It was brilliant. And we drove across to the first tee, and we had a lovely day, and it was lovely weather. And then when we were nearly finished, we were nearly halfway up the 18th, he phoned home and said, we'll be home in a quarter of an hour, have something ready. And he had a most lovely lady who was his housekeeper. And she was Oriental. And, she did all lovely little prawns and dips and stuff. And I had to pinch myself, really. I'm sitting in Bruce Forsyth's den, eating and having a drink. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I've been fortunate enough to meet so many people from doing Strictly that I was so grateful, and still am grateful for the BBC giving me the opportunity to do Strictly, and be meeting so many really nice people. So what a bit of luck I had, eh? Because if old Izzy Pick, the executive producer, for some reason thought, no, I won't have him, there'd been no interviewing with you, Lewis, would there? Or it'd have just been old Len Goodman, a dance teacher from Dartford. So really, really lucky.
Talking about Sir Bruce, you two had this chemistry on screen as well, and it was like there was a mutual respect and a mutual understanding.
Well, listen, he was much older than me, but of the four judges, I was the oldest, and so we had a lot more in common. And I'd always been interested in variety, and I used to go to lots of theatre shows and stuff. So once we sort of got to know each other, I used to pop round to his dressing room, and I used to, because he met everyone. And what was Bing Crosby like? Oh, and then he'd go on about Bing Crosby and playing golf. And what was Bob Hope like? loads and loads of people. He'd met everyone and he knew. And so I used to ask him about all different people, you know. And so we used to have a lovely chat only for about 20 minutes, just, you know, half an hour before the show. And it used to relax him, I think, and it used to relax me, having a little chat about it all. But, you know, where Bruce came into his own, he was marvellous at thinking on his feet. You know, they have all that auto cue and you have to read that, which he wasn't the greatest auto cue reader. You know, no, go slower, you know, whatever. But when it came to just ad-libbing or thinking on your feet, he was absolutely the master. He was brilliant. And I'm going to tip this screen down. I hope it don't muck me up.
Of course. With Strictly, obviously you come from a traditional background of dance. So when they came and you knew the idea of the concept of the show, you know, celebrities dancing on a primetime TV show, what were your initial thoughts? Because it's kind of a whole new world to you.
I remember saying to my wife, just, you know, before we did the first, this is never going to work. I said, no, none of these pros are going to be able to teach a celebrity who's a non-dancer in a week to any great standard. How wrong I was, because I think those pros are truly the unsung heroes of the whole thing. Because, excuse me, to take an absolute non-dancer and to teach them a routine for a minute and a quarter or a minute and a half is just incredible. And I admire the celebrities. I wouldn't have gone on it if I'd have been a celebrity and I was a non-dancer. Why would you? You know, it's live. You've got to learn a routine. All you're thinking about is not going wrong. No, it mustn't go wrong. What's coming? And you tend, you know, you'd be thinking, what's coming next? What's coming next? But they really embraced it, and there were some of those celebrities over the years have been fantastic. Last year's one, and I know I wasn't judging it. I forget his name. Kelvin.
Yeah, Kelvin Fletcher.
Kelvin Fletcher. He was brilliant. He was truly brilliant. I couldn't believe it. And two of the hardest dances, especially for a man, is samba and rumba. And he did those in the blooming final. And he did them brilliantly. Wow, he was really, really good. He'd have got a 10 from Len, no question. Yeah, he was really good.
What were your thoughts when you first met the judges? Because you had Bruno, who's like an excitable child, and then you had Craig, that's very played.
Yeah, I'd never met any of them, and I didn't know any. I knew of Arlene Phillips.
Yeah.
Because of what was that? She used to do those hot gossip. There was a group of girls, and so I'd heard of her, but I'd never met any of them. And of course, Bruno. Well, he was all right at first, but eventually, I've got a theory that his vocal cords are attached to his bottom, and he can only talk if he jumps up, because you know he was up and down, up and down. Craig was well. I like all the judges, but Craig. You know, it's difficult to impress him, so he was always the most negative, and that's what we became in the end. It was a bit like a panto, you know. You got the nasty piece of work, Baron Ardup or someone, that was Craig. Then you got Buttons, who was all bubbly and jubbly. That was, and then you got me. I was like the old king or something, who sat in there, and I don't mean king in that respect, but you know, the old guy who was came on and came off. So yeah, it became like a bit of a panto really, but so much fun and so many laughs. You know, I remember one series. I don't remember who it was, but anyway, in came one couple danced, and I gave them a 7. So I stuck up the paddle and 7. So that was that, and then out came the next one. I thought, oh, there's another 7. So I said it with a little bit more enthusiasm. 7, you know. Anyway, the next one, another 7. So I got overly excited. I went 7. Bruno started laughing, and that's how I started saying 7.
Yeah.
That's how it all kicked off, was from making Bruno laugh and keep having to say 7. But it was funny because it became sort of a catchphrase a bit. Yeah, that's how 7 came along. And of course, 10 was perfect for me. 10 from Len, just fitted in lovely. Yeah. So anyway, go on.
I was going to say that catchphrase, it's not just in strict, because I know other judges use it, but little things like I'd sometimes ask people, oh, what time's tea? And they'd go 7. So it's become legendary all over.
Yeah. And on the golf course, if somebody scores 7, you know, and somebody said, what did you get there? 7? Yeah. How funny. Brilliant. And when I was on Strictly, and, you know, if I walked through London, I'd have taxis going by and 7. Yeah, funny, eh?
I love that. We interviewed Craig on the show before, and I was surprised because you see this on-screen persona of Craig, and when you see him in real life, and he's one of the most nicest, sensitive.
Let me tell you, of all the judges, Craig is the nicest. Well, and Darcy Bussell was wonderful.
Wow, yeah.
But of the three of us, Bruno, me, and Craig. Craig is such a nice guy. He really is, and he's generous. You know, after the show or when we were on tour, we'd go back to the hotel. He'd be the first one to buy a bottle of wine for the table or whatever. Really lovely, lovely guy. I like him so much. I think he's great. He's the one that I phone on occasions. I never phone Bruno because he's usually in America. You know, he bought a home in LA, so he mostly he's probably over there now, isolating himself. But yeah, I have a chat with Craig on occasions, and he's nice, very nice man. I like him.
I love the relationship you had, because if he would give a score that was just completely unfair, the camera would go onto your face and you'd give him this look of disapproval, and it was brilliant.
I think, you know, not that I'm criticising any of the panel now, but I think that. Hello, my gates are opening. Oh, it's my wife going now. Well, just here, it's a gate. Nobody has a go at Craig. Well, it don't seem to. You know, I remember I got told off because I called him a silly sod once on I said, what, a 4? I said, you know, I used to get so annoyed. Are you mad? A 4? You know, my theory was you got 1 for turning up. You know, if you had the nerve to turn up, you got 1. If you moved your left leg as well, you got 2. If you moved your right leg as well, you got 3. And if you got through the whole thing, you got a 4. So just getting through it is worth a 4. And then you go from there. But not old Craig. Thank heaven there's not a 0 paddle, because I'm sure he'd be sticking that up as well. Yeah. But you got to have that, you know, you got to have somebody who's like the villain of the piece, and that's Craig. Yeah, but it was good fun. I enjoyed it. I did it for 12 years, and it was 12 years of really good fun. And I used to pinch myself really, because, you know, I used to teach dancing. So you'd do 10 hours of teaching people to dance. And then suddenly this job came along, and I couldn't believe it. A car used to pick me up and drive me to the studio. Out I'd get, and I'd go and sit about for a bit and have a sandwich. Then I'd do the show. Then another car would take me home, and I'd get paid for it. You know, it was amazing. Brilliant. Wow. Yeah. So it was a great job. And then, of course, America decided to do it in 2005, and they loved Bruno. They got Bruno on board straight away, and the producer and the director and all the people that had run Strictly were asked to go to America and do the American show. And Izzy Pick said, you should have Len Goodman on the panel. And they said, we don't like him, he's too old.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's too old, which, fair enough, I'm getting on. So they didn't want me, and they tried to get all sorts of people, but evidently they couldn't find anyone. And old Izzy Pick used to keep saying, well, you've got to get Len. He's, you know, talks sense and keeps everybody under control. So anyway, eventually, 3 days before the first show, I got a call from America saying, would I come and do the American one? And it was on the show was on a Wednesday, and I got phoned on the Saturday. And they said, would I come over tomorrow? I said, no, I can't. I said, give over. America was sure it wouldn't be a success. So the first series was 6 weeks in the middle of the summer, June and July, half of June and July, which is the kipper season for television shows, evidently, in America. Anyway, I went on the Monday, and on the Wednesday I did the first show. And, you know, I remember chatting to a cameraman just before the first show, and the weather was lovely. And I said, marvellous weather, you could really get used to this. He said, don't get used to it. This show will bomb. No one's interested in ballroom dancing. I thought, oh, hello, that's handy. Anyway, 28 series later, it's still going strong. So, yeah, you can never, I'm sure, I don't know much about television production, but I'm sure that they never know if what's going to be a success and what's not. You know, it's just suck it and see. You know, they put a show on, and I saw a documentary about Dad's Army, and the lava to get it on. You know, they were convinced it wouldn't work, and it would only, you know, they were going to do one show, and there you're still watching it now. You know, 25 years later. So I'm sure they don't know really what's going to be good and what's going to be bad.
You know, every time I found when Strictly would hit our screens, the nation just got dance fever, because I would just go into the kitchen, I'd start dancing, just because for that 6 to 12 weeks it's on, you just lose yourself, and you know what, it was incredible.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit like, you know, when Wimbledon's on, everybody gets a tennis racket and goes over the park and starts hitting balls, you know. But what's wonderful with Strictly is, you know, children love it. Grandparents love, you know, it truly is a show that is for everyone, absolutely for everyone. And you know, I know there's been criticism in the past that it used to annoy me so much when people used to say, well, I've never heard of any of the celebrities. Well, of course, if there's somebody that's on Holby City and you don't watch it, well, you wouldn't know them, would you? It's just, you know, if there's somebody off of Coronation Street and you don't watch it, you wouldn't know them. But I used to say to my mum, have you heard of any of the new celebrities? No, she said, but it don't matter. I'll get to know them all during the series, and that's what it is. Yeah, I'd never heard of that Kelvin. Had you heard of him?
Yeah, but you know, I know exactly what you mean. There's been loads of people. I'm not sure who they are, but then you get to really become a fan of them, because in that time you get to see their personality. Yeah,
I think we learn a lot about, you know, when people that are on soaps, you basically you only know that character that they portray in the soap. But if they're on Strictly, you get to know a lot more about them, and I think they get to know quite a bit about themselves. You know, their ability to keep going, to struggle, the frustrations you get with learning to dance. So I think it's a wonderful thing. What's America like to work as a judge on the American show, you know, compared to English? Yeah, it's basically it's the same show. You know, you've got the person who's was Bruce, you've got the one who's Claudia Winkleman, that, you know, behind there. You've got the band. You've got the judges. They only have 3 judges. There's me, Bruno, and an American lady. So there's 3 judges. But it's a bit more razzmatazz going. You know, it's more Hollywood and jazz hands. But it's still brilliant. And I think the British one, that the professionals tend to teach them a little bit more technique, whereas they skip the technique in America. It's more about the wow. You know, it's all about the wow and not about the how. Yeah.
For someone who's very technical and comes from that background, is that hard for you to be a judge and kind of?
No, it's not hard to be. No. Of course, I do always picking them up. Oh, you didn't do any heel leads throughout that waltz. Not one heel lead. You've got to work on your footwork. So I'm always on about that. But eventually, you have to judge. It's all about comparisons. Is this one better than that one? If that one's an 8 and this one's a bit better, they've got to be a 9. Or if this one's an 8 and this one's not so good, it's a 7 or 6 or whatever. Yeah. So it's all about comparisons, really. But I always going on about the technique, and I know I get. Yeah. Do you know the Viennese waltz? You watch the Viennese waltz over in Britain, and virtually every couple do a spinning step called a fleckle.
Yeah.
I've never seen one, and they do lots of Viennese waltzes. I've only seen it done once in America, and that's only because I'm always saying Americans must think I'm bloody nutty. Okay, I never saw a fleckle. Why didn't you put a fleckle in? You know, no one knows what I'm talking about, but it don't matter. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
You know, Strictly had the ability to create legends, and one of those being Anne Widdecombe. What was it like to watch her every week dancing?
Well, I think Anton, you know, he's had some bloody tough people to teach. I think Anton is wonderful. I think he's got a wonderful personality. He's a great character, and he does, you know, it's all very well if you've got a young 24-year-old who's in a girl group who went to stage school. Okay, and then they say, well, I've never done ballroom. Well, no, but you've learned about movement, you've learned about rhythm, you've learned about timing, you've learned lots of choreography. So they've got a huge advantage, really. The ones who I admire are the sports people that have never danced at all. And the amazing thing, you mentioned Anne Whittaker. And lots of people have mentioned it to me. I bet you couldn't tell me who won it that year that she was on.
No, she's the one that I would always remember.
That's the one you remember.
Yeah.
Now that I don't know why. We all remember John Sargent dragging the. We all remember Russell Grant being shot out of a cannon. But ask people who won it, and I can't remember either.
Yeah.
Why is it? And I don't know the answer. Why is it that we remember the really, really bad ones, and we can't remember the really, really good ones? It is a funny thing.
When it was announced that you were leaving, it was a really hard, especially for a fan. It was like, because I've noticed when I've watched TV shows before and the lineup to a show changes, you get used to it after a few weeks. It's now been a few series, and I'm really not used to you not being on the panel. It's really difficult. So why did you decide to leave in the end?
Well, as a joke, I always say I couldn't think of anything else to say about the Viennese waltz. But the truth of the matter is, you know, I did it for 12 years, and I must say I enjoyed it all the time. What I didn't enjoy was, and I know they don't talk about it, but the results show is recorded on the Saturday night after the show. So you do the show, and you know, you do the show, then you have to sit about for about an hour and sometimes longer, hour and a half, while they set up for the results show. And then back you have to go. And because it's recorded, if there's an act on, a singer or whatever, they will never do it once. You know, if it was a live show, they do it once and that would be that. But because that's recorded, they always do it twice, sometimes 3 times. So whereas the show ends at like 8:30 or whenever. It's now 20 to midnight, and you're still there. And I used to get and I used to come home and moan, basically, to my wife. Oh, God, we had to do so-and-so was the band. They did it 3 times. And she used to say, well, why don't you, if it's getting on your wick that much, why don't you stop? And eventually I thought, I will. And I gave them a year's notice. You know, just after the finale of the one show in the January, I said, I'm going to do next year. I'm going to do next year, but that will be my last one. So I gave them plenty of time to find other people and to do whatever they wanted to do. And, you know, it's a funny thing. I don't regret not doing it anymore. It's a bit like if you've got a girlfriend and you split up, right? And you're quite amiable about it and amicable, you split up. And that's that. So there. But then you'll be walking along and you'll see that girl with some other bloke. And you think, that's a liberty. She was my, you know, that was my girl. So that's the sort of feeling you get. You know, old Shirley, I think she's done terrific, old Shirley Ballas, because it's difficult to step in to somebody else's place, but she stayed to her own self, be true, and she hasn't tried to be another Len Goodman. I wish she'd take a little bit more control over it, over the panel, as I used to. No, you know, or be quiet or whatever. You know, I was like the old headmaster on it, trying to keep it all under control. And and have a go at Craig. I used to like doing that. But the one I think was an inspired choice was Darcy Bustle when she came in. I was worried. She's going to be so posh. But she's just a lovely, lovely lady. And I liked her so much. She was great. I like Darcy very much. But this new girl, I forget her name now, unfortunately, that's taken. Motzi. She's been good, lovely and bubbly. You know, I think she's been good. And I thought, hello, people will criticise because her sister's on it, but I think she's been okay. You know, I think she's done okay, all right as well. I wish they wouldn't all keep standing up. God, all right. You know, I used to stand up maybe once in a series if it was something special, and I'd stand up and I'd just clap them. And they're up and down now. That gets on. I keep going. For Christ's sake, don't keep standing up. Yeah. But that's only me. We've all, you know, we've all got our little foibles. Yeah.
I mean, there was always this thing with X Factor and Strictly, and I mean, X Factor put so much effort into the ratings war, and I think why Strictly always won is because they didn't always have to change it. It was a family show. The judges were the same. It was friendly, and now the judges, you've lost yourself, and we haven't got Darcy anymore, and you've only got 2 originals. I think, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think if Craig or Bruno ever left, I think it could be a potential risk to the popularity of the show.
Well, I remember speaking to someone about that a long time ago, before I left or before, and they said it's such a popular show. Yeah, who would have thought once Bruce Forsyth decided, you know, he was the glue of the whole thing, but it's still carried on. It's still just as popular. You know, people might say, so-and-so's not as good as Bruce was or whatever. Tess Daly, she's not as good as Brooke, but she does a terrific job, I think, you know. So it's such a popular concept and such a brilliant show. I think if all the judges went and they got 4 new ones, it would still be the same. As long as they can get interesting celebrities, they've got terrific pros. I'm more concerned that they keep the standard of the professionals dancers up, because they're the key to it. But you know, loads when you think back to the early days, and virtually none of that. There's only Anton is the only pro that was on it at the beginning, still going strong. So that they've had a tremendous change of professional dancers on it. But anyway, it's such a good show. I think if whatever happens, it'll still carry on. It's good.
I was going to say, a lot of people call for Anton to be a judge because there's going to be a stage where I imagine he won't be able to compete as a dancer anymore.
Firstly, the thing is, Anton has been extremely loyal to Strictly and to the BBC. Now, unless they get a new role, there's only a couple of things he can do. He could be a judge. He could be a compere, take over from Tess or whatever. But, I don't know what else he could do, really. But I do think there should always be a place on Strictly for Anton du Beke, because he's been such a loyal and a huge contribution to the success of that show, that just to say, right, well, you're too old now to dance, so thank you very much. I think that would be very sad.
If they ever asked you to come back, do you think you would do it?
Probably not. I say, and they're saying never say never. If they asked me and it was something I fancied doing, then I would. But the other problem was at the time, I was still doing the American show, and it was on at the same time. Yeah. So you do Strictly on the Saturday. Sunday morning you'd go to Heathrow, fly to LA, do their show Monday and Tuesday, fly back on Wednesday, get back Thursday. You'd have Friday to recoup, or you'd do BBC Two, and then you'd do it again. And you used to have to fly weekly for 10 weeks. Then the BBC, your contract is annual. So once you've finished, that's the end of it. Then they ask you in March or so, would you like to do it again? And you get a new contract, and that's the next. In America, it's different. You do 4. You have to sign up for 4 at a time. So I'd only done 1 of the 4. So I couldn't really not do the American one, but I couldn't do the flying up and down anymore. So something had to go, and it was Strictly, and I feel bad about it, because Strictly gave me everything. Without Strictly, I wouldn't have done the American one. So, but there you are. But who knows? Who knows? They might say.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Might say, Len, come. But if I did, listen, as many people who might say, shame old Len's gone, there's plenty who would say, oh, thank Christ that old boy's left. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I don't do any of that Twittery business, and I'm not on anything. But I used to be. James Jordan's made me go on it, and he fixed it up, and anyway. I used to get the most horrendous. If I gave somebody a low score, I had one person say, I hope on your way home you have a car crash and die.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And I used to think, it's a dancing competition, Yeah. But it shows you and eventually I thought, I can't be on this with people like that on it. So anyway.
Are you still on the American show?
Well, my contract, I've got 1 left, but that's in this September. Yeah. But whether it'll go ahead, I don't know.
Would you look to if they ask you to do some more series after that?
No, I don't. I've had enough. The thing is, it's not a terrible job over there. You're in LA. You're there September, October, and most of November. So it's not the best weather here normally. They give me a really nice apartment. My wife comes out for a month and has a lovely little holiday. And they pay for her flight to come over and everything. So it's not the worst job in the world. I'm just looking at myself. I haven't had a haircut since the last.
Same.
Yeah, I'm going to probably end up with a ponytail.
I think you're going to like this next bit. So when we get guests on the show, we sometimes give them a quiz, but it's a little bit different because the quiz is about their own careers.
Okay.
And we see how many they get right, and the results are normally really, really fun. So you teamed up with Ainsley Harriott to front a show, but what was the show called?
I wanted to call it Len's Foreign Muck, but they wouldn't. Was it a food adventure or something like that?
Correct.
Was it? I enjoyed it. He was fun.
Len and Ainsley's Food Adventure. How many episodes of Countdown have you appeared in?
Countdown. 3.
5.
Oh, blimey.
In 2005, you voiced Professor in which children's program?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Auto Be Good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You presented the show Dancing Cheek to Cheek, but who was your co-presenter?
Yeah. Was it Erin?
No, Lucy Worsley.
Oh, Lucy. Yeah, she was nice. She's a nice lady. Yeah.
You hosted Holiday of My Lifetime, but how many episodes did it run for?
Now, I think it was 40.
I can give you that. It says 41, but I think that was because there was a special.
I loved that show. I never sort of tout for work, but I spoke to my agent. I said, you know, I'd love to do some more because they were great, going to different places in Britain, holiday destination. I enjoyed it so much. It was great. But my favourite thing I've done was those holiday programs.
You had lots of good celebrities.
Yeah.
Here we go. Complete the title of a show that you hosted on BBC One. Len Goodman's Partners in
Rhyme.
Correct.
Do you know, I thought that was going to be a success, that show, but it wasn't. I did 6 and that was the end of it. It got slated. But I enjoyed it. I had so much fun doing it. It was good fun. And that's the thing, once you get to a certain age, if I don't fancy doing something, I don't do it. I only want to do things that I'm going to enjoy doing, you know, and I get asked to do lots of things and I invariably, I don't want to do that. No, I know, you know. So I only do now what I really like to do. And I did enjoy doing the old Partners in Rhyme, but I enjoyed it, but I don't think a lot of other people did. I don't know.
You appeared in The Weakest Link in 2006 and you won. But how much did you win for your charity?
Oh, yeah, Weakest Link. It wasn't, was it 6 grand?
8.
Oh, yeah, 8 grand.
Who won the first series of Strictly Come Dancing?
Now, that I know. That if you'd asked me the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, I probably wouldn't. Natasha Kaplinski.
Yeah. And Brendan, who you sometimes used to have a bit of a clash
we had
with.
a few ding-dongs. Yeah.
Which Pussycat doll won the 10th season of Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, she was brilliant. She was brilliant. And don't tell me, Nicole Scherzinger.
Yeah, correct.
She was a fantastic dancer. She really was.
You're doing a lot better than most celebrities. This is your last question on the quiz. Who famously? Oh, you've answered this one already. I said who was famously fired out of the cannon on Strictly?
Oh yeah, Russell.
There we go.
Yeah, that was when they used to do one of them at Wembley. It was at Wembley. Yeah, bloody brilliant. It was brilliant.
So what are you working on now? Because I know you've got your own dance academy.
Yeah, we got a dance school. I don't really do much at the dance studio. My wife Sue and my son James run that. Well, of course, that's in total lockdown at the moment. So we've had they've been up there sort of smartening it up and sorting it out, so it's all gorgeously gorgeous. But and we're not sure whenever, you know, it won't be until at least August or maybe longer before dance schools can open again. So, and I had a couple of little jobs coming up which were interesting, but of course they've been put on lockdown. So I'm mainly talking to you, Lewis. That's been one of the highlights of the last couple of months, really.
I want to thank you, because it's honestly been an absolute pleasure for me to talk about your career, and for you to share so many stories. It's been an absolute privilege to listen to.
Lewis, it's been a pleasure. May I wish you all the best, stay safe, and to all your viewers and listeners or whatever, all the best and good luck.
Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you back on Strictly and hear you say,
Who knows?
Pickle my walnuts. We missed that.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay.